It is September 23rd, 2024. That is my new to me Triumph Tiger 900 GT Pro. It had a little over 4,900 miles on it when I bought it. I got it at Eurocycle Reno. It was really a pretty good deal. They had it priced $2,000 higher than what I paid for it, so that made me happy. So overall, yeah, good experience with the Eurocycle Reno. The only bad part is that I didn't notice at the time is that it does not have passenger foot pegs on it. I'll try to figure something out for that, but for now, I did talk to the parts people, and it cost over $560 to get new ones from Triumph, so that's not going to happen. But, junkyards, maybe I could work something else out, but I will see. I came with crash guards on it, which was nice. The lower ones, doesn't have the upper. I do have the Garmin Zumo hooked up, and as I found out, they've got this little DIN power port back here. A little ugly at the moment, but I just ran a USB cable, or a USB adapter into the DIN power port, and then I ran a cable under the seat and kind of through the tank and up to the Garmin, a USB cable. And the back DIN port is switched, so if I turn it off, the Zumo will turn off too. There's a front one, which I found out is unswitched, which I would have liked to have used, would have been a lot easier, but you turn the bike off and the Zumo still has power to it, and it could eventually run down the battery, so didn't want to do that. I am still learning all sorts of things about this bike. I just figured out where it shows tire pressures, so I'll leave that up for just a minute. Today I want to go to Toad Lake. I've done that on the KLX. It's a fairly lengthy dirt road. I may not go all the way. I guess I should start at my Gaia just so I'll have a track that I can put into a video. Okay, Zumo's going. Oh, I mean, not Zumo's going. My Gaia's going. There is a way that I can export GPX from my Zumo. I've done it once. A little confusing. Just easier to start Gaia and use that. I've done one ride on it, which I should have that video out before this one. And that ride, I went up W Barda at Forest Road 26, kind of like what I'm doing now, but I went past the turn for Toad Lake and took Forest Road 26 around to the Mount Eddy trailhead and made a big loop. But there was about a 14-mile dirt section there, a little washboarded, and I was trying to change it to the off-road mode, and I don't think I really succeeded in doing that. The traction control was kicking in too hard on the washboards. And I've done a little more reviewing on that, and I think I know how to do it now. I'm in road mode right now, but then I will stop and see if I can't get it into off-road mode. Tires I have on this should be really good on this dirt road that I'm going to.
2 days ago, October 15th, I took the Tiger on another dirt road. It's a fairly short stretch, but I got into some really deep moon dust, really deep silt, and washed out the front end and put it down on the ground for the first time since I tipped it over in a U-turn in a campground. Tried lifting it on my own with no success, so then I tried using the eastbound moto winch. Got it up a ways, but couldn't quite get it up, and maybe I would have eventually gotten it, but two really nice people on e-mountain bikes came up the road and helped me lift it up and helped me get it through there, and I thank them so much. One was named Ron. I didn't catch the other name. They also hung around after I got the bike upright and helped me shove me and get the bike through that blasted moon dust that I was in. And I'm starting to realize that sometimes being an little old guy might work to your benefit. I really appreciate it when people help me out. So far, no dents anywhere in the motorcycle. Few scrapes, scratches, but I did buy some touch-up paint, which I think is going to be enough to take care of it. And we'll see what happens. Again, I got this bike to ride it, so it is going to show a little wear and tear.
This has cruise control on it. I just said it. I think I'm going to like that a lot. I've only owned one bike in my life that had cruise control. I was way back in '03. I had a Harley Ultra Classic. I rented another Harley Limited a number of years later when Joline and I had some friends coming up that wanted to do a motorcycle ride. The two of them each had their own bikes. At that point, I didn't own a street bike, so I rented one from a Harley dealer. It had cruise control, worked really well. It's nice when you've got it. Okay, this is where you turn for Toad Lake. And here's where I find out just what I think about this. Oh, I was going to put this in off-road mode. Okay. Off-road mode, that's what I want. Select it. That is off-road mode, traction control disabled. That's what I need. And ABS is at least partially disabled. So when I did that 14 miles of dirt about 8 or 9 days ago, I definitely did not get it into off-road mode. And when I was bumping over stuff like this on a little uphill climb, the traction control kept cutting in and cutting power, which was a little bit disconcerting. Should not be doing that now. And it isn't. Now this first little rocky stretch here is the hardest part of the Toad Lake Road for a little ways. Smooths out a little bit, then it has some sections that are a little bit like this as we get further up there. Again, I've done this on the KLX. I've got a video out there if anybody wants to see it. Now it's flashing at me, that the ABS is disabled, sure. Traction control. This is only the third ride I've done on this motorcycle. The first one was a very short ride. I don't think I've videoed it. And this is my third ride. And again, I wish I had done more, but life gets in the way. I had some things I had to do. So I had about an 8-day break there before I could ride it again. It's important that I ride it a lot right now. The previous owner bought it on September 30th of 2020, and they've got a 2-year unlimited mileage warranty, which expires this month on the 30th. So basically, if I was going to make any kind of a warranty claim on it, I have to do it by this Friday, and this is Monday. So I'm probably going to be riding this every day this week. Just checking everything out. So far, it's all good. Everything works. I guess one way to get a smoother throttle is to ride in a higher gear. If it'll idle down far enough, which it might. So I'm in second gear now. I know when I rode my KLX up here, I went a lot faster, but I was very familiar with that bike. It had full knobbies on it and weighed a whole lot less than this thing I'm on right now. But what I'm doing right now is going to kind of test my thought that I had about the adventure bike, that I could do almost everything on this that I did on the KLX, with the exception of that one rough section on that Mount Eddy loop I did with it frequently. And I may give this a try on that someday, but only when I get a whole lot more comfortable on it. Way too early to try something really hard on this yet, and maybe never. You deal with a bike like this, it's all well and good until you drop it, and then the hard times start. I don't think there's a whole lot on this road that would make me drop it, but you don't know what you don't know. You just have to find out. This is such a pretty motorcycle, I'm not going to like dropping it, scarring it up a bit. Likely that'll happen at some point, but I hope not. Again, my Suzuki GSX-8S, I dropped that once in my garage working on it. Rolled it off the side stand. Did a little bit of damage, but I fixed it all. The bike is still like new. Anybody who buys that motorcycle will have a full documentary of where it's been and what it's done, if they care to look at my videos on YouTube. I think I said this 8-9 days ago when I did that ride on some dirt roads, that this really has a nicely balanced, very good standing up riding position. I'm doing that right now. I'm liking that. I really like the way this is working on the dirt road. It's good. Now again, I haven't gotten any really deep loose stuff of any sort, whether it's gravel or sand or dirt. And I'm sure someday I'll get into something like that, and that'll challenge me. I also know your standard BDR rides, your kind of most of your adventure bike rides, unless you go for the hard sections, are probably not much harder than this. Since I've never gone on one, I can't prove that, but just the videos I watch of them. This bike is really pretty good on a dirt road sitting down also. Pretty stable. I never had any desire to try to see if that Suzuki GSX-8S would come up this. I mean, I'm sure you could, it's just that I don't think I would have wanted to. Well, I turned the camera back on. There were some pretty rocky sections back there that I didn't have it on for, but the bike did fine through it. But when I'm seeing this bike really feels good on a lot of this stuff, it's just if you do drop it, you're going to have a whole lot more trouble than you would with a lighter weight bike. With a 19-inch wheel, it certainly rolls over these little dips and things better than a street bike 17-inch does. Not sure that I'm going to really miss the 21-inch front wheel. And again, while you worry about breaking a cast wheel, you know, you can break spoked wheels too. I've done it once. I would never ride this bike as hard as I rode that bike back when I broke that wheel, though. That was in my racing days. When it's time to turn this around, I hope they'll have a nice wide area to do it in. I certainly had a lot of tip-over mishaps on the KLX doing that sort of thing. If I make it all the way up to that Toad Lake campground, then no problems. There's some wide areas up there to turn around in, but if I have to turn around early, then that would be different. Good so far. I'm sure I'm going slower than I would in the KLX, but I'm not finding it difficult at all to come up a road like this. You see a lake on my GPS. It's probably Toad Lake. It's still a ways off. And as usual, I'm not going to actually hike to Toad Lake. I'd have to do a half mile or so hike and climb 400 or 500 vertical feet, and doing that riding boots is not recommended. I know I'm going to eat my words on that someday, but I mean, that's the goal. Keep the rubber side down. If you can do that and you say, oh, these heavy adventure bikes are fine, well, oh, be careful where you ride them. Now this, I think, could be the other kind of rough stretch of this road, similar to what that very beginning when you turn off on the dirt road, what that was like. But again, so far, bike goes over everything just fine. Of course, something else that's going to get tested on this ride is, you know, if you're not climbing super steep stuff, going up is usually easier than going down. So we'll have to see. I may try to get the little bit of the ABS and traction control back on. Well, maybe not. If you're going downhill, you got to stop. ABS can make that difficult sometimes. I don't know. I have to think about what mode I want in going down. Probably still off-road. What I'm in now. Something this bike has, which I really like, is an outside temperature gauge. It tells me it's 76 out there right now. Which for going slow and working a little harder, that feels hot. Again, I got a long sleeve shirt on that I need to get rid of, but I'm waiting until I hopefully make it up to the Toad Lake campground. A little bit of rougher stuff there, but again, keep the rubber side down and you're doing fine. It helps that it's got a really nice stand-up position. The 19-inch front wheel it really seems good to me. Not as rough as that Eddie's loop here, but it's challenging. Keeping in mind, it's only the third time I've ridden this bike. How about that? I made it to the Toad Lake campground. Success. The trailhead is coming right up here that takes you up to Toad Lake, which I've never done. Again, you can't ride a motorcycle up it. Right there. And with that, it is time for me to turn around, but I will stop first and take off this shirt. Okay, I'm gonna have to change batteries here real soon, but I've stopped up here at the Toad Lake campground. The motorcycle's behind me, and I'm going to try to get some shots here of just how well my feet can get on the ground. Now, it's on a slope, so the left is going to be easier than the right, but there should be some. Okay, I think you've got it pointing the right direction. Let's key on your motorcycle. Okay, now I'll show the same thing from the front. Okay, same thing. Balls of the feet are easy. The heels are a little bit hard to get down. And again, this isn't totally flat, but seat height on this is really pretty good for a short guy with a 29-inch inseam. Oh, bike will start in road mode. Forgot about that. Off-road, yes. That wasn't very hard to switch back though. I'll get much better at that with practice. Now I have to finish that turnaround that I started. And when you're on dirt like this, it's never quite as simple as you think it should be. Again, with more confidence, I mean, I would just zing around here, but new bike, third time I've ridden it, heavy, on dirt. That wasn't all that bad. I just being very cautious. Now my rear brake just slid there. That tells me the ABS is off. Rear tire slid, I should say. I don't know what it is about turnarounds, but at least early on, I worry about them. I was pretty wobbly there. Like I said, when I'm up and moving and rubber side down, it's all good. Yeah, definitely don't have anti-lock on the rear. Now I think that they keep some measure of anti-lock on the front wheel, but I'm not sure about that. On some fairly flat little piece of dirt, I may experiment with it, but I'm not going to experiment here. Because although I'm sure this doesn't look all that steep, it's moderately steep for what I'm doing on this 483-pound motorcycle, plus me and gear. And like I said before, going downhill is a little more worrisome than going up. Again, I'm pretty impressed with this bike. It's very comfortable, handles well on a road like this, sitting. And of course, it does very well standing also. I'm so glad this bike came with a little more aggressive OHV tires than stock. Except I think they're very good for this kind of road. When people complain about them a little bit, if you get in deep sand or mud or really deep gravel, stuff like that, then you need a more aggressive tread. On this downhill, I'm finding it much easier to keep the bike in second gear, which smooths the throttle out some. On the uphill, I had to be in first most of the time. Before today's ride, I adjusted the gear shift lever up as high as it would go. With these boots that I've got on, they're kind of thick at the toe, and also with my artificial, somewhat stiff ankle, kind of the place where people normally seem to put their gear shift lever. It's a little low for me. I've said this before, I've never taken a ride like this on an adventure bike. I did have that Triumph 800 XC, had the 21-inch front wheels, spoked wheels. Weighed a little more than this bike, had a much taller seat, and I always rode double with it with my wife, Joline, and I just didn't want to take challenging roads too up. And the other thing, the power delivery on that was really quick. I mean, it was like sport bike quick, just zip, zip, you know, you really zing that throttle and it would break the rear wheel loose extremely easily. I think the next generation after that, I'm not exactly sure when it came out, but it wasn't real long. Had traction control, ABS, all that stuff. But when they first came out in 2011, they had none of it. Now this has been a really good dirt road test on this bike. Moderately steep, got some rocks. Not too hard, I didn't want anything too hard for first try on this. Close throttle to confirm, which I did. I'm in rain mode, okay. Shows me a little rain cloud over there in the lower right corner of my display, which it should. Now at this point I probably maximized ABS, traction control, all that stuff, which, you know, going downhill, not all that steep. Probably doesn't really matter. But the soft throttle I think would be nice. And it does feel softer. I think I'll just ride it back home like this, and when I get home, turn it off. It'll be interesting to see if when you start it back up, if it stays in rain mode. Well, I'm glad I got that Suzuki GSX 8S first. It's lighter than this bike by 40 pounds about. And it's got a lower seat height. Just everything on it was a little easier. Kind of eased my way back into a little bit heavier motorcycles. So this one's a little bit heavier, a little bit taller, and I feel very comfortable on it. I don't know that I would have felt so comfortable if I'd jumped right to this at the beginning. Okay, so I reset all my trip stuff, and for this ride I've just done up and back, I got so far 34.4 mpg, which I'm not surprised. By the time I get back, that's going to go a little higher, so I'm getting 85 right now, so I'm just kind of coasting.